This episode was originally recorded on the 24th of June, 2022, from a hotel room with a cell phone. Enjoy. Welcome to the Everyday Experiences podcast, where we uncover potential design improvements in the world around us by exploring one frustrating experience at a time. I'm your host and chief observer, Geoff Wilson, and joining me today, in person, is Guy Thompson.
Real and in 3 dimensions, even though we're only in 2 dimensions in audio. So.
Yeah, and actually, in that case, I can't promise anything for audio quality because since I'm traveling, we don't have the fancy microphones like we usually do. So this is recorded on a cell phone.
It will be an opinion on the Samsung phone recording quality.
So the thing that started this inspiration for this particular recording is I saw you do something interesting. You were walking around the city of Melbourne, and you started following people taking pictures of their bags. Please explain for the courts.
Okay. So my background in terms of graphic design didn't include a lot of fashion design, but I still got quite interested in particular kinds of clothing and apparel, and most specifically bags, in terms of a piece of clothing or an accessory that you can design. And so since then, so for the last 20 years, I've been kind of accidentally stalking people in the city, where if I spot just the bag that they've got and it's like a design that I haven't seen before, it's a really interesting color, the material's really cool, I want to be able to get up close and take a couple of pictures of it. So I sort of have this way that I kind of like hold my phone at kind of like hip or waist level and kind of point it in the wrong direction and kind of like shimmy along to next till I'm sort of close to someone so I can take a picture. Or I have to like literally run down the street and try to take like 10 photos and hope one of them's not blurry because someone's trying to like cross the road in a hurry or something. So, and then when I've kind of got those, I tend to work backwards and see what's interesting from an inspiration point of view around like design and see what works. Because what people are actually carrying and using as evidence of what works in terms of design, not what just, if you do a Google image search, you're just seeing images online about inventory and like what looks interesting. But what people actually buy and what they use every day, I think is really interesting to me about the usability of a bag. So that's why I kind of try to take those photos of what's actually being used.
And let's define bag for the purpose of this. So, I thought about what are the different bags that came to the top of mind. There's tote bags, duffel bags, laptop bags, purses and satchels, bum bags, or fanny packs for those in the U.S. who don't realize the word fanny means something totally different in other countries. You can look that up online yourself. I'll mention it here. This is a family-friendly show. And shopping bags, and then backpacks, and then suitcases, and I guess you start getting bigger and wilder. So which ones in particular are you talking about? It sounds more like the bags for work, I guess. Like,
yeah,
it's because you can hold laptops and gear, or your just everyday wallets and things. Right?
Exactly. I'd probably refer to that as like an everyday bag, because I think, and the gender politics is a tricky thing to bring into this, because generally we'll talk about women having handbags and men sort of just having nothing. They kind of just fill their pockets up with stuff. And so without sort of being too specific on gender roles and what genders prefer to buy, I think what is commonly seen as a handbag is something that is really visually distinctive. So it's an accessory, it's often a really interesting color or really nice material, and it can be a contrast or something that's matching your outfit. Now, some people will really be drawn to that and have quite a few of them because they're looking at it as a fashion accessory, versus someone who's really attracted to just the utilitarian nature of it's got all the right pockets I want, I can fit all my bits and pieces in there, my wallet goes there, my keys go there, my phone always goes in this compartment, my laptop goes here. Because when you change bags, it's like, oh my God, it's got different pockets, So for me, I like kind of using the same bag so everything's in the right place. And so for me to upgrade to the next bag is quite a step. But for other people who just like the accessorization side of a bag, it's around color, fit, material, or whatever. So for me, it's really thinking about that everyday bag that you're taking with you all the time. So all the bits and pieces you might need for your day or for your work are in there, as well as like the contingencies. Can you fit, of course we've got hand sanitizer and lip gloss and bits and pieces, but do you have a rain jacket? Do you have an extra kind of, umbrella or like a water bottle? Like how much stuff are you bringing with you versus just a real simple kind of wallet, keys, phone for like a smaller kind of bag?
Yeah, and I was going to say I actually have that exact experience recently because thanks to you. So again, I'm traveling, And so, it's the whole old George Carlin thing. You've got stuff, and you slowly compartmentalize into smaller bags of stuff that you bring around to smaller places. And so for me, I started with this big travel bag, everything in a suitcase, or everything in not a suitcase, but a backpack. But then, we wanted to walk around, or I wanted to work out of the city for the day. So then I borrowed a bag from you, and I had to go, okay, how do I take this large pile of things? And like you said, figure out what pockets I should put what in. So I had to sit there and I played around with it a few times, actually. And because I'm that particular kind of person, I was like, I'll put lotion stuff now. Okay, I don't want that in there. Phones, no, that's harder to access. So I sat there for a minute, shuffling everything around to figure out, like, where should the water bottle go? Where should the cords go? Where should all those things go? And then as soon as we got home, I needed to give you your bag back. So I had to take all that and go, okay, back to my little bag, where in like the little satchel that I carry around. Like, okay, well, what goes back in the exact same pockets every single time? Yeah, it's always a fun little experiment to see. And I noticed when the first thing is your bag, your book bag in specific, tried to give you hints of like, oh, your phone can go here. It's got little images. But yet I think also like phones grow in size or change dramatically. So it's like, I don't think that even would fit that.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a critic out there. I don't think anything else fits in that little sort of slot. So yeah, I think the process of like planning your day is a little bit like an editing process. You think about all the particular things you might do during that day, which I think is very similar to when you pack to go on a trip. You're just thinking, oh, what stuff am I going to need? And I kind of pack it all in. But you don't really remember everything that you put like visually within your bag. You're pretty sure that you packed something. I'm pretty sure I've put that thing in there. I left that in my bag last time, whatever. And you kind of have, I guess most people have a bit of a layout, like they'll pack their bag in a certain way so they know, oh, I've still got to get that out of the clothes washer or whatever. Like there's one more thing that I'm missing. I need to maybe put some gifts here or whatever. You kind of lay your bag out in a pretty similar way. And then you kind of get to capacity and you're like, oh, geez, do I actually need those extra pair of shoes? Whatever. Your packing is planning. You're trying to work out what are the activities and things I'm going to do in future. And the things you bring with you will actually define that activity. If you don't have those workout clothes or those running shoes, you can't do those activities unless you go and then buy those items again. Likewise with your day, if you don't take your laptop with you or your iPad or your extra phone or whatever you got, like your work phone versus personal phone, it will define the activities that you're able to do with your day. And so always when I'm in the city or when I sort of turn up to work, and there'll be someone who just turns up with like their phone and I guess their keys are in a pocket somewhere, I'm like, you don't have anything else with you. How are you prepared for your day? Anything could happen. And they don't have anything with them. What if they wanted something to read and that they want printed material? Or they wanted to buy something but have to then get another bag to put the item in. So for me, when I see people just like walk up to work with like a phone and their key or like one credit card and nothing else, I'm kind of like, I think I have more contingencies with me. I sort of like plan, I've got like 3 different kinds of headphones or something in my bag. So without that, I'm fascinated about how people plan their day without a bag to put their things in.
I feel like this, and we don't know this, there's got to be some psychology aspect there in terms of like the planners versus the freewheelers. Carefree, don't know what you're going to do that day. Just go with the flow, have whatever, be very open to anything. Because if you do have a bag, that does add some constraint throughout your day then. Because then you need to well, obviously carry it with you if it gets too heavy, if it gets annoying. But then you gotta keep it safe. You gotta not forget it behind. So with this, we got everyday bags. We're talking about planning it. What are the kind of themes do you think we're going to get into today?
Well, the thing that I wanted to sort of talk about the most was really that comparison between the utility of what a bag represents versus it being used as a fashion accessory. Because I think when we're talking about like usability and design, they impact both sides of that, right? Because you can have a bag that is really attractive and interesting that's kind of impractical because it might actually not have the right things in it that you're looking for. And that happens right across the spectrum, from a tote bag that doesn't have any pockets inside it, so you can't really put like a water bottle or keys or anything else inside. Everything's just going to like float around inside the bag, versus, shopping bags. Like we all, store like tons of them at home because we'll buy them, and of course they're a lot more reusable now, so we'll kind of have this massive inventory of them. But then of course we forget them as we go out again. So, you're just constantly acquiring more of them, but it's just in case you might need them again. I can definitely use those. And then you kind of have this pile of them just in case you have a party or a picnic or you move house and you just need 25 bags.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was thinking as you said it is, if you've got, likely, I'm going to make a bold assumption that if you do the more aesthetically pleasing bags, because those have less things or less utility to them, it in some ways encourages you to buy other ones, because that way it's like, oh, we've got this one, like you said, it's planning, right? And especially I think of my wife, like you've got specific bags for specific events and things you're going to do, but therefore you have to have multiple. You can't just have one universal everyday bag that does everything you need, which is what I was after. So this creates a market in some ways too.
It absolutely does. And I was just thinking while you were saying that, the difference between like my kind of ideal laptop bag, which is basically a satchel now. Yes, it can store a laptop and a magazine and some other bits and pieces, but that's generally kind of effectively my handbag because it's got wallet, keys, phone, glasses, sunglasses, AirPods, headphones, other random cards, business cards, snacks, like water, like everything in there. And I feel like when I've seen other kinds of laptop satchels, some are like really a lot more slimlined, where there's really not much other space. There's not even space for a charger. It's just the laptop and like your phone. That's it basically. Or you can have a much bigger bag that sort of starts to become like a backpack. And I feel like if I was going to a conference, for example, and I was going to take my laptop, then maybe, I could have like a cooler kind of trendy bag. If it was like a tech conference versus, a finance thing or whatever, you could kind of have a bag that matches that sort of scene, if you like. Because I'm sure like I've been to sort of conferences and expos before where a backpack wouldn't kind of suit. You'd sort of look a bit odd with a backpack on because everyone's just in suits or whatever, versus a very sort of tech conference or something where if I'm walking around with a suit and my laptop bag, I'd look a little bit sort of uptight. So it's about like assimilating into that scene with a fashion accessory that kind of suits, which I think is kind of the event-based purchasing we talk about. But for me, if I had like 2 or 3 laptop bags of like all the pieces I've got to take out to then put into the next bag, that strategy of like what I'm doing and where's that cable and where's that adapter and where's that dongle and where's that charger and where's like all the different things that you kind of need with you for all of those contingencies, versus having like your ideal optimum bag where everything's living inside that constantly.
It's like preparing for the apocalypse now. Yeah. It's like, I do feel like, this is the way you just said all that. It's very true because I've got the exact same thing, but I'm thinking back to, early 2000s and stuff where before, you'd have one phone and your battery lasts all day because it didn't do anything else. So you didn't need to bring battery packs and all of this extra gear, all these different headphones and things.
You say that, but I was like, no, I had like MP3 player.
What? Yeah. I was like, well, as soon as I said that, I was like, well, I was going to say headphones, but then, I had the big old CD players with the tape recorders before, or tape decks before that, and those things were chunky. So
lots of other bits and pieces. So I don't know, maybe it's a strategy thing that some people are more about like that planning and strategy. And I know every time I'm in a situation where I find that I need this one thing that's like buried inside my bag. Of course, there's the sense of like, I know. Yeah. There's things that like have been in my bag for 4 months and I've finally just used it. It's that payoff from being prepared and using strategy versus I think what you mentioned before about the everyday, like getting caught out. Like, well, I'm going to get wet if I go outside now because I've got like nothing,
I mean, it's raining today, right? And so I'm already thinking ahead of we're going to go out and walk the city in a few minutes. And I've got that little satchel, but I've got a bralette. It's a still urban one, but it's still too big for that. And so I've already, this is me, you get an insight with me. I was panicking a bit like, what do I do? It definitely has just rained a minute ago, but it's not now, and do I risk it and not? But I don't want to carry it the entire day, and I didn't bring one of your backpacks. And that also, I don't want to walk around the city all day with a backpack on. Something smaller that holds the things is the perfect size, but yet we're also going to go do some shops later, and I might get some shoes. Well, again, I have to carry those around in a separate bag. I could have just brought a backpack and had everything great. So yeah, it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Problems that shouldn't be problems, but we pay way too much attention to.
And I think there's an extra piece there that I don't actually do as much as I should, which is when you're walking around with your everyday bag, whether it's a satchel or like a backpack or a laptop bag, of course you can fold up another bag to put inside it, right? If we're going to do any shopping or whatever. And a few times I've kind of taken one of those like cloth supermarket bags that has like a little plastic floor on the bottom, so it pops out quite square and you could put some shoes or whatever in it if you went to go buy something. That kind of does fold down to about the size of a magazine to slot into your laptop bag. So I think that's quite effective because I don't like that crinkly sound of a plastic bag that's inside another bag. Again, so it's all these things about like aesthetics and sound and comfort level, and like knowing you've just got what you need with you. Some people are really good at that. So if they've got a handbag, they'll kind of like pop one of those things in there because they know they're going to go shopping at some point. Whereas me, I'm quite stingy and I'm not going shopping all the time, so I forget. But yeah, of course, you end up at the supermarket and geez, I don't have a bag again. So yeah, just thinking about what you're doing with it, with your day, and seeing if you've got all the stuff in that bag. Yeah, so for me, that impacts the design element of, all the different capacity and utility that that bag can represent versus just the pure, aesthetics of like what the bag looks like.
That reminds me, because I'm definitely in the utility side. Like the amount of pockets and straps, which I'll get into, can definitely make the experience negative for me when I use different bags, right? And I just realized, I was thinking of the Kano model, and if you don't know what that is, it's basically that if you don't have certain features or things, it can only lead to dissatisfaction. It's the basic necessities. Like the bag needs a way to hold it. You don't have to hold it in your hand the entire time. If you don't have that, immediate dissatisfaction with the product. Then you've got performance enhancing things, so you have different pockets and things that help you hold it. And then there's the differentiators, which for bags, I'd actually wonder if that's the aesthetic side, or maybe there's something else unique. Like, way back when I don't see, I guess, as much anymore with Bluetooth headsets because they're so prevalent now. Some bags, I'm thinking of like high school, started coming out with slots for like wired headphones to go through, so you can keep your speakers or whatever, or your CD player inside your bag and have the wire run through it. So that was a bit of a differentiator at the time, which becomes a basic thing. But I was realizing with all the bags I have, I don't actually know what brings joy necessarily, because all of them, I always have something to nitpick at rather than something that like every time I use it, I'm like, oh, I love that I have it. It's just perfect. Yes, I don't have anything that brings me joy with it.
Yeah, that's interesting because I find that's what I'm looking for as well. Like when I'm looking at other people's bags, I'm almost like, it's this envy around like, what is it that made you buy that bag? And what is, so I'm like trying to take photographic evidence of like, to give me clues as to what am I supposed to look for to get a bag that's as good as the bag that you're using every day. There must be something good about it. So if it's the way, if it's the material that's on the bottom of it, so you can put it on the ground without it getting dirty, or all the different pockets, or all the different straps, or the handles, or, the way that it sort of sits when you're holding it. Because some bags are really bulky, some look all kind of wonky, they're all made out of weird material. And even a bag that's like completely black can look like this shiny, floppy, weird sack when it's actually on versus something that's like a more rigid bag, like a suitcase, which is very hard and it always looks the same every single time, right? I think some backpacks can look really cool and then others can sort of just look really awful.
And I've realized in this moment that I actually found the answer to my own question of what would bring me joy. What brings me joy is when the utility works as designed. And I don't know why it didn't come to me at first because I had to think of it because April's in my head. But I was thinking of the travel backpack I have. It's one I've had for 11 years now. It's my go-to. I even tried to go to a hard suitcase and went, nope, travel bag. And the reason is, it's because when I can successfully cram so many things in it, and then it's got these like two straps across the back of it that kind of compact it down and you can pull it and like get it quite tight. Because if it's on your back, you don't want your center balance like falling too far back because everything's shifting. Yeah. So that little moment actually, I guess, does bring me joy every time. It's also got two settings, and so if it's really packed, you can still clamp it down, but it's a less tight one.
Yeah.
But that little thing, basically every time that I know I've done it right, then like, oh, cool, I've got it just the right amount full. I know I can strap it. I can make it look tight. Also for airport security, it makes it look like I'm carrying a lot less weight than I actually am. So I guess there are little things, and then even with my little satchel, I specifically wanted it to hold a book. And the kind of fiction books that I read, that was kind of the prerequisites is it needs to be big enough to hold that. So I guess in that sense, when I can actually do the thing that I got it for, it can do that one specific role and purpose. I guess it brings that joy that you don't necessarily notice out loud. You're not going, wow, every single time, but it's not staying in the back of the shelf. And I guess that would be the marker of something that's not fulfilling its need.
I think that's a good point though, because I think for a lot of people when they're commuting, more people probably would like to read books. And I know, this is the thing. A lot of guys will say, oh, I don't have enough time to read. I haven't prioritized time. It's like, yeah, but if you can take a book with you, then you can kind of find those minutes during the day. But again, as does it go in the backpack? If you don't have a bag with you and it's just like keys, wallet, phone and nothing else, then you can't really hold a Kindle. You can't really take a magazine with you. You're not going to sit there reading The Economist if you got nowhere to put it. And if you've got a fiction book or a non-fiction book or even journaling, if you don't have a place to put those things, then they aren't activities that you do. You're not going to have a sketch pad. You're not going to be kind of doing whatever. So I think there is this idea around you've got these other kinds of activities that you might want to be doing, right? And these are more sort of self-directed activities that are more mindful. Might be journaling, might be reading, might be like planning your day, doing a bit of strategy, having a diary, doing it all kind of like manually, versus someone who's just very digitally focused. They've just got their phone, keys, wallet, and nothing else. It's just a different kind of style of how you spend your day and the things that you prioritize your time doing. And again, maybe it's much more about planners and people who have all that equipment with them versus someone who's just winging it.
So if you were a bag designer, right? And I think I kind of already know the answer to my question, because it'll go with brand and exclusivity and, fashion statements and accessorizing, like you said, versus utility. I was wondering, as a general everyday bag designer, maybe it is, let's just call it the laptop bag. It's something that's big enough to hold that. Do you design your pockets and slots and all that for the lowest common denominator, as in the person who carries everything with them? Or do you try to design it for minimalism? And where do you draw that line? Because I definitely know, like your backpack, I love certain things, like it's got that square bottom flow, like water bottles and leftover food to bring to the office. But then also it's got so many pockets.
Yeah.
I would never in a million years use all of 90% of those.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there is a factor where there's too much, right? And this is the tricky balance between less, more extensive, And I think as a designer, you've got to accommodate those different preferences, where like there's the basics versus, medium level complexity and like, tertiary level complexity. So I think that's kind of where I would be trying to aim for. And then once you've got those, basic, medium and high level, is then you test it and you see what people are using, and do they need all those pockets, and do you need one less? And one of the key things that I think is interesting from that point of view, especially around a backpack, is I find that generally the pockets on both sides are often identical, and I really like it to be asymmetrical, because I feel like you might want to store your water bottle on one side, so that's a bigger, almost like a netting bag versus pocket, versus the other side where you kind of like want a zip pocket, because it might be that's your go-to space for your keys or something. And of course, that's going to depend on if you're left or right-handed. So there's always going to be tricky parts there. But I like that to be asymmetrical, so that I can make a choice about what I'm doing, versus if they're exactly the same and there's nowhere to slot that water bottle in, then I'm like, I'm going to be dehydrated with this bag. So it's a no from me.
I think actually your asymmetrical would solve one of the common problems that I have, because almost all of my bags are symmetrical, and backpacks and all too, is that because I do carry my water bottle at 750 milliliter everywhere I go, half the time, if that's the only thing in my bag, like if I don't bring the brolly that day, or if I'm not bringing leftovers to the office and stuff, it's just flopping all around, falling around, because it's just one giant pocket versus, if you design it so it's a specific holder for that specific thing, that would actually be quite nice. So
for me around design, the key, I suppose the crossover that I'm trying to get to is that there are bags that are designed with specialist use in mind. And I feel this comes under like hiking, trekking, camping, like hunting, fishing. Like you've got all this equipment. It's really important to take with you, from torches and safety equipment and flares and bear spray and whatever you're taking with you. These are really important, like survival equipment, versus like, the equipment I take to a cafe for life to work for a few hours, or Wi-Fi is not, as life sustaining as what you might take on a hike or a trek. But I feel like when it's like sports related, like the skiing and stuff, those bags and that equipment is really designed very specifically with that client in mind for that use case. And of course, they're a lot more expensive. You might be looking at several $100s for that kind of bag, $600 or $800 for that kind of bag that you're taking with you, versus a more everyday, not disposable bag, but the sort of bag that you might have for a year or so, and then you're a bit tired of it and you want something new. Versus like the hiking, trekking bag that you use for like 7 years because it's just perfect and it does everything you want it to. So I think for me, there's a little bit of a crossover there around treating that everyday activity of working and creativity and commuting like it is a bit more of a serious activity, and the people who have concerns about that and kind of want their day to go really well and be really smooth, that they have everything that they need with them. And I think as we've sort of spent a couple of years at home and we're starting to kind of get out and commute and go places again, I think there is a market for that level of sort of perhaps increased anxiety about, will I have everything that I need with me? Because I just spent a couple of years at home where everything was there. Now I'm kind of going out. I kind of need equipment with me and a bag with me that's going to actually allow for all of that stuff. So I think maybe that's where it'll come back, and you'll see there's bigger bags with all these different kinds of options. And it won't be as weird to like carry all that stuff with you, because it's kind of like, you never know what's going to happen. It's like bringing it with me.
Yeah. So going back a second, when you were talking about primary, secondary, tertiary, it reminded me that, of the design concept of top task. In this case, if you were marketing a laptop bag, what is the one thing it needs to do? Hold a laptop. And laptops do vary in size, so you might have to go a little bit bigger than the average, like not the smallest MacBook Air. And then the things that the laptops need. So it needs this charging cord, maybe a mouse or something like that. And then that's your primary thing. It has to have the pockets and just enough space for that. And then you've got your secondary. Well, what do people who carry laptops often typically carry with them? And then tertiary, like what are the things that people may or may not? And so that, as designers, if you work in this bag industries, or if you're not a designer by role, as the thing that I say in this podcast, if you're just somebody who works in a factory, go out and watch people. Go do what you do and follow people around and take pictures and talk to them and go. I mean, yes, I appreciate it be kind of weird, but that's the guerrilla on the street study. Go out and see what people who are carrying laptops, if you're a laptop bag designer, see what they're carrying with them. See, and do one of my favorite exercises, which is always the red root kind of critical path mentality. If you had to run out the door in 5 minutes and you were late to work, but you needed your laptop, what are the things you're throwing in that bag? Make sure that all of those things have the spaces they need to fit it. And then if you had 5 more minutes, what else would you put in there at the beginning of the day?
Yeah.
So you can design it based on what people are actively doing. And it takes that ethnography of going out and watching people do that stuff.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point, because when I've been like sort of seeing people in the city, like walking around with their bag, when you talk to people about like the bags that they might have at home or the bags that they usually use, I think it's quite hard to recall, because it's not something they think about all the time. It's just this thing that you take with you. And I like it because of like 1 or 2 features. So as you're putting more features into the bag, we're kind of like thinking about all these possible things you can design, all these contingencies, all these bits and pieces. But someone might only like the bag for like, 1, 2, or 3 of those reasons. And I feel like when you ask them the differences, and like, I don't really use this bag much because of whatever, like if you go to their house and look at all the stuff that they've got, the opinions and what they'll share is different to like, I'm watching someone walk down the street with the bag, with their everyday bag they're using right now. There must be something about that that's important and good. And so that's where I always think like the proof is in like what people actually walk out of the store buying versus what's available to buy in the store. And I think within fashion circles a lot, people will see like what comes down the runway and what's out this season, etc. And that's all the ideas and the possible potential things that you can design and make. But what people actually walk out of the store with is the real proof. But it's not what they walk out of the store with, it's what they're using like a month later.
Yeah, because you can have a closet full of bags. I may or may not know people who have that. She may or may not be listening. And it's probably actually not even that many. It's just as a guy, I see it like a lot.
It's just, right.
But yeah, I think what that made me think about is when you said walking out of the store, you might not necessarily be the one buying it for yourself. It might be a gift. And so I realized that even if you're not like the designer of bags, which most people listening to this probably aren't, it's really probably a niche thing, thinking about taking those exact same lessons for gift buying and going, if you were to buy a bag for somebody else, watch what they bring, watch what, watch the ones that they most commonly use, and then see, well, for one, do they even need another? Because if they've got that one that works perfectly, why change it? Some of these bags could last 10 years or more, ideally.
Exactly. And that right there is the most tricky part of this conversation, because if you design a bag that's brilliant and it's hard wearing and it's a fantastic material and it lasts for 10 years, you are going to go out of business, because there's not going to be enough bags that you can sell to stay in business. So to a certain extent, the bag industry at large, or the fashion industry at large, is really obsessed by, and rightly so, trends and what's stylish and what's fashionable and what's coming out now. And the ability to translate that into marketing material and communicate that to consumers so they feel like the bags they have, the clothes they have right now are not good enough. You need something new, you need something different, you need something distinctive. Your day is going to be terrible because you don't have this bag. That's important for the industry at large, because in order to stay in business, they need to be selling lots of bags that you use just maybe for a year or just for a few months. Because if it's for 10 years, you're not coming back as a repeat customer. So it has to be more consumable as an accessory than the perfect bag that you never need to buy again.
As I'm learning through this show, everything could have planned obsolescence in some way. Whether it's digital and non-digital, everything gets down to that as a business decision. And you're right, because there is a bag, I think only recently, I couldn't even throw it away. I think it donated or something, but it's one of those old JanSport bags that I had. Is my backpack from high school.
Yeah.
I've had it for 20-something years, and it's fine. I mean, yes, the waterproofing is gone, but otherwise it's a canvas bag. It's never going to die. I don't know what you could do to actually harm that thing.
Exactly.
But therefore, I've never needed it. I was actually thinking if I have a kid, hell, they could use my old high school bag.
Exactly. But I thought that company had gone into business. It's they never changed their logo. And I just thought, well, if everyone was using their bags forever, they'd have nothing more to sell. But clearly, they've managed to grow their market and find new customers with the exact same design bags. So good on them.
Yeah.
There is one more point that I want to raise, though. It's about luggage. And we're going to sort of talk about this separately in terms of travel. But I think luggage is interesting because it is more of that one-off purchase where, you even look at them and they've got like 5, 7, 10-year warranties or whatever. And you tend to have this one main piece of luggage that you use regularly, and then you might have sort of secondary pieces. So a piece of luggage is not an everyday bag, right? It's definitely something you're using occasionally. And again, it's kind of just empty, right? It's just got like a zipper and stuff. But you don't use it as an accessory because it's just you dump all your stuff in it. It needs to be not too heavy. The wheels don't want to come off and you kind of go through. So for me, that's a much more longer lasting item that actually is used far less but survives for much longer. Whereas your everyday bag actually might wear out. The straps might get wonky. The all the sort of fixtures and fittments and zips, etc. may wear out or get stuck or whatever. So, and again, just because you're paying more for a bag doesn't mean that it isn't necessarily going to last longer. That manufacturing and quality componentry is different for every purchase. So, luggage is an interesting piece as well because it's just a longer wearing item, but you actually use it less.
You say that, but like, and maybe sadly, yes, luggage costs a lot more in general. I can think of all the luggage. I guess do you call them bags, suitcases, whatever that are downstairs in my downstairs in my house. They almost all of them have some kind of defect already.
Yeah.
It's like the wheels wear out really quickly, or the inside lining starts ripping because it's like a super, super thin fabric thing that like you zip up. Yeah, the zippers might not work, the handles might break. And generally it is the wheels. Those are probably the first things to go. So in some ways it's like I have to probably replace those more often than I want. And I know I'm going to call out a brand here, but Geoff does have a Samsonite one that I'm pretty sure they claim like, lifetime warranty for their tires or their wheels. But yet also have no idea how we could possibly claim that for a thing we don't have a receipt.
Yeah, how do you?
So I feel like it's like yes, it's a promise. We'll replace it, but you got to keep the receipt and find it, and we'll never be able to do that. So it's just a wasted thing.
Exactly, like that lifetime sort of warranty aspect on things. And yeah, definitely brands like that have that brand promise of really hard wearing, really reliable. Yeah, definitely go and get one. Versus, oh wow, I've broken something or it's worn out. Am I actually going to go through and buy this exact same bag again? Probably not going to be available. So I've actually got to get something new because they're refreshing, putting new products out because they're going to sell new products. So, it's that balance between, producing something that's long wearing versus actually selling more products. So it's a tricky balance.
And also for suitcases, one last thing, because they go on the conveyor belts and all that, almost all of ours just had black nasty stripes and stuff. So from your aesthetic angle, it's like that would drive people possibly to do it more often. Is after just a few international trips, for example, it's been thrown around so many different legs. It looks terrible now. So do people want to carry around something that looks bad, or do they still want that aesthetic appeal to it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, with that, I don't have anything else about bags. I guess when we go walk around the street, we'll go watch some more people. I'm looking down from this building we're in, and I'm seeing some people carrying around different ones right now. So I'm excited to go have a look at the world and look at it from a new light. If you like what you heard today, you can find and follow us at Everyday EXP Pod or myself at Geoff Wilson HCD. Go listen to some past episodes and listen to what you think. And just remember, you don't have to have a fancy job title to start noticing and improving the everyday experiences wherever you work. Thanks, and we'll be on there again soon.
Don't mind how much baggage you have.
Of course there has to be one pun. Bring a laptop. And so then, you make sure you have a laptop slot. Audio texture, there is car alarms and police. I think I'll wait a second and redo this part.